Chapter 16. Determining the location. John and Billy are happy to be back on the surface, but also sad for poor Ramirez. John says to Billy, "I'll go into the wheelhouse and check the GPS to see where we actually are." Billy replies, "Okay, I'll check the yacht to see if there's any damage." Rufus the Labrador follows John into the wheelhouse and lies down in the corner for a nap. John examined the GPS and discovered that it wasn't working. Luckily, there were nautical charts, a compass, and a sextant in a drawer. As a child, he was shown how to determine latitude and longitude using these tools on a sailing trip. Explanation: what is a sextant? A sextant is essentially a very precise angle measuring instrument, used primarily for navigation and astronomy. It is essentially used to measure the angle between the horizon, sailors call it the horizon, and a celestial body. Here's a brief explanation of how to use a sextant. Point the sextant at the horizon below the sun. Press the locking lever to release the alidade. Lower the sun to the horizon. Release the locking lever and finally adjust the sun's position on the drum. While doing this, swing the sextant around the telescope axis to check verticality. Read the angle. John follows the instructions and goes on deck. He measures the angle to the sun with the sextant. He goes to the wheelhouse and uses the data to calculate the longitude and latitude and is very surprised when he sees the position on the nautical chart. He calls Billy over. "Hey Billy, do you want to know where we are?" Billy says, "Yes, where?" John explains, "We're just off the African coast. More precisely, near the Cape Verde archipelago, a rise in the Atlantic ridge. We're 6,000 kilometers from Florida." Billy says, horrified, "Then we're still on the road for weeks." John laughs and says, "No. If everything goes well and we make good progress, we'll arrive in the port of Fort Lauderdale in 10 days. Let's check everything and then we'll head home. Luckily, we have enough supplies from Atlantis." John and Billy inspect the yacht for damage. It's an incredible miracle that everything is in good condition after the incredible ride through the volcano. John calculates the route to the port of Fort Lauderdale and starts the engines. John and Billy can't wait to finally be home. Even though they both don't know the date or time. All their clocks and cell phones have stopped working since they entered the Earth's interior. John can only roughly estimate the time of day based on the position of the sun. But he still hopes they'll be on the road for a week. John and Billy have been on the road for 3 days now. They're making good progress, but what's very unusual is the silence that surrounds them. They don't see any ships, airplanes, dolphins, or birds. The ocean is also very calm. Nevertheless, John isn't worried and is looking forward to finally docking in the port of Fort Lauderdale. After 6 days, they pass very large buoys marked exclusion zone, danger to life, demarcating the area they've just left. "What does that mean?" Billy asks. John replies, "I don't know either." Even as he answers, a naval speedboat approaches their yacht. They are forced to stop, and the speedboat docks. A naval officer orders the engines to stop, and several soldiers board the yacht. The officer looks very annoyed and approaches John. "Can you tell me what you were doing in the Ramirez Atlantis restricted area?" the naval officer asks angrily. John and Billy look at each other in surprise and say, astonished, "We don't know anything about this restricted area." The officer replies venomously, "Don't you kid me. This restricted area has existed for a good 100 years. Every child knows this restricted area." John and Billy aren't sure if this has anything to do with the Ramirez they were traveling with. Perhaps he's traveled back to the time he vanished before them with the amulet. The officer interrupts their thoughts. Well, whatever. You're lucky you're still alive. This area is crisscrossed with whirlpools and wormholes that supply the subterranean Atlantis with energy and simultaneously destroy intruders. John and Billy realize that by leaving the subterranean world, they have also entered a new reality. It probably has something to do with a paradox caused by Ramirez's possible time travel. The officer then asks, "Where are you headed?" John replies, "We're on our way to Fort Lauderdale, Florida, USA." The officer adds, "Very well. My soldiers will briefly inspect your yacht, and then you can continue your journey." The soldiers inspect the yacht but find nothing and abandon it. John and Billy start the engines and continue their journey.